Hello, it's me, Nathan, again. It is, what day does it say? It's Monday, but more importantly, it is 1994, and I am 16, would you believe it? So I'm old enough to have sex, smoke, join the army, but I'm not old enough to drink. And if you think that a man of my calibre paid attention to any of those other than the army one, then you're sadly mistaken. So what's been happening in 1994? So nothing much has changed really. Now you're looking at me in the past in 1994, because there's still tensions over North Korea and about their nuclear capability. Nothing changes. But satellite digital TV has been launched. The Channel Tunnel's opened. We're connected to France forever. Let you take your view on that. Surely one of the greatest human beings ever to exist was voted as President of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. So if you've never read his autobiography, I would encourage you to do so, because it's amazing, and he was an amazing man. I don't think that's up for question. And then rather sadly, I mentioned yesterday, Kurt Cobain died. My father had to coax me out of my bedroom, as that hit me quite hard. He had to coax me over a series of days by lying pouches of tobacco along the hallway, so I'd eventually come out. But yeah, the sad thing that I was thinking actually today, how desperately this generation needs a Kurt Cobain, a Bob Dylan, a Bob Marley, Jack Kerouac, an eloquent, rebellious figure to articulate the frustration of a generation which undoubtedly is observable at the moment, as I found out today. But we'll more on that as we go forward. So what have I been up to today in this year of our Lord 1994? I woke up actually, and I was in a bit of a mood again. I think I mentioned being in a mood in the morning before, but I had to be riled. It was one of those horrible situations where I woke up and I was convinced, snuggled up to the other half, I was convinced I still had an hour in bed, and much to my dismay, upon checking the clock on the phone, about 2 minutes. And because the old body's taken a bit of a physical battering over the years, and certainly an intense battering towards the end of my drinking. It's very difficult to rouse the body in the morning, in a non-erotic sense. So it's like the stoking of some ancient Victorian print press. It has to be fed with vitamins and cereal and Barocca and coffee, and then once the whole thing's sort of up and churning away, then it's good, but it's quite painful. That in itself, can get you down a little bit. I suffered some nerve damage, etc. And I do struggle, but it is getting better, and it does get better day by day. I feel like I've got more energy. I had some muscle wastage, etc. Because I was eating near the end of my drinking. So that's growing back, particularly with the manual labour I'm doing at the moment. As we know, with the type of work I'm doing, the unpaid but not voluntary work that I'm doing. So that's starting to build me back up. But it is a bit of a trial, and it was raining as well. So once you go in, you're right. I was up, and off we went onto the bus with the other half, and off we went, and she went her way off to work, and I went my way to meet the crew. Raining. I don't know if it was raining where you are this morning, but it was raining where I was, so that again dampens the mood. Oh, the spirit started lifting. Met the crew. you know what I mean, bruv, meant the cruel, and trust, it was okay. You can tell I've been hanging around with the youth today. So I mean that has its effect. But it's funny when you're hanging around with people of a different generation. When you're hanging around with the people of a different generation, you start to notice things. And you know, I'll get on with, and there's some amazing people I've mentioned before on in this particular line of work. And you know, I was looking at them today, and was working up in a churchyard and was doing a bit of gardening and stuff. And I've come to the conclusion they're bored. They're bored because they're used to being stimulated every second of the day. They've been mainlined into the internet all their lives, or entertainment. The thought that they're not going to be entertained or have some visual treat hitting their eyes every 30 seconds is absurd, because they have access to it all the time. They've been sold the dream, haven't they, by the corporations, that they have to be advertised to, entertained, or have their brain played around with like plasticine every 2 seconds. And as soon as that doesn't happen, you could tell there was, you know, there was agitation as soon as there wasn't something to do, and there was a little bit of tomfoolery and stuff happening around that. And simultaneously, while I'm observing this, if you're watching, hello guys, stop thieving. I'm having another conversation with one of the supervisors, and she was telling me about how she feels detached from her head office, and that she feels like she's working for this faceless, I'm going somewhere with this, works for this faceless organisation. She hasn't had a one-to-one, she hasn't had an appraisal, no one really rings her to see what's going on. And it comes down to, you know, I was having that conversation with her, and I said, well, you know, you obviously enjoy your job, but there's a little bit about that gets you down. And you know, and the bit that got her down was the lack of recognition. It was that lack of someone saying, you know, well done, you've done a good job. And similarly, I noticed the effect on the youth. You know, when you say to them, good job, you soon see the mood changes. It bristles. You know, human beings, you know, as I said before, I think are like chemical elements. You know, that if you put two of them together and you know, and they're both negative, as negative effects happens. But if, you know, if there's a positive force that engages with the other person, then something positive tends to happen. And you know, a simple thing of well done means a great deal to these guys. So this is a sort of a reoccurring theme of the day. It started to snowball. I started to notice that if I did go around and even jokingly say, you know, good job, keep it up, you know, don't expect more, don't expect overtime, don't expect overtime for this. That they did perk up, and then this has gone on to a text that's come through from a friend that's in early recovery, and the text said, you know, I'm really proud of you, you're doing well, proud to call you my friend. And that made my day. Whatever else was going on, I was just like, do you know what? Yeah, it's bloody hard, and I've got a lot going on, and a simple well done, that changed the entire mood of my day. And throughout the rehab process, they're constantly going on about affirmations. You do affirmations, you know, on command while you're there. Say something good about someone. And there's a bloody good reason for that, because it's incredibly powerful. And I think there is a danger that as we go through, certainly in the early stages of recovery, but move in, you know, you start getting from weeks and then it starts going into months, that you forget to do that. You forget to affirm yourself, you forget to look at yourself in the mirror and go, you're alright mate, you've been through a bit of a rough patch, because I beat myself up and called myself all the names under the sun for years, and very difficult to take. you know, any affirmation coming towards me. I still find it a little bit awkward. I'm getting better at it. You know, praise doesn't sit easy with me. But as I said, getting better at it. But it's such an important part, and just that simple thing. And I sent back a text, "You're doing really well." And I dare say, if you know anyone's watching this, I dare say you probably are in active addiction, in recovery, or know someone in recovery. Do not underestimate the power of just, you know, when's the last time you picked up the phone just to say, you know, well done, you've been through the mill, mate, you're doing really well. If you haven't, I'd suggest doing it. So, you know, I sent back a text, you know, proud of you, she's struggling, this particular individual at the moment. And that's understandable because it is bloody hard, you know, it can be hard. So I was just reminded of that, not just because I think, you know, the way I see it sometimes is addiction for me, it almost seems like an amplification of the human condition anyway. You know, the amplified sense of you're not quite sure who you are or what life is about, the amplified sense of I hope everyone thinks I'm alright, the amplified sense of loss, of need, of some kind of external thing that will make you happy, that you can put into you that will make you happy. And you know, with that, with a microphone next to it. So then I just started sending around, you know, spreading the love carte blanche, to be honest. Send one to my dad, send one to some other friends, just to thank them. And everyone feels better. I don't think we're particularly good at it in this country, actually. I don't think we're particularly good at saying you're great, you're brilliant, well done. Not over the top. I mean, if you do it all the time, it has no bloody merit at all, because you're just saying the same thing all the time, and it doesn't have the impact. But as a nation, I don't think we're particularly good at it. I don't think we're particularly good at taking praise. You know, I had a friend of mine many moons ago who was an Italian girl, and their family was fantastic, and she was, the whole family, I don't know whether there's an Italian thing, I don't want to have any sort of national or racial stereotype, but this is what I found with this particular Italian family. And it seemed, when I went to the wedding, and there were other little pockets of these other Italian families, that this seemed to be a fair trait, that they were very complimentary all the time. And I feel brilliant when they, "Oh, aren't you handsome, aren't you wonderful, aren't you funny, you should do this, aren't you dressed well?" And it just lifts the mood of everyone, it just lifts the mood of all concerned. So I would urge you, if you've not done it today, just ring someone, text someone, and say well done, particularly if they're in early stages of recovery, because it's very important. It made my day. I hope I've made someone else's day. I've definitely made my dad's day. I told him he was a brilliant dad and I loved him. He probably thinks I'm mental. He probably looked at the phone and thought, "I hope he's not back on the sauce." But no, I genuinely just wanted to tell him that he is a bloody good dad, because he is. So it's, you know, in regards to this person that's struggling a bit at the moment, I think it's one of those things. A conversation I had with my mum as well. She said she was, you know, getting into yoga. She's very much into yoga, and she finds relaxing hard, and she desperately tries to relax. And this person, you know, it's like if you desperately try to recover, it's like grabbing at water. You know, the very act of you trying to get the thing that you're trying to get is the very thing that will stop you doing it. You know, it's like grabbing the water. As I said, you grab it, all you do is you push the water away. The thing maybe is to accept that you're just in the water and bob along. You know, don't be the proverbial swan splashing around. You know, say, "Oh, I'm all calm on top. It's mental underneath." You know, the old cliches. Don't be the swan, man. Be the water. That's what I say. Just, you know, bob along as much as you can. You know, I've done the white knuckling thing. And that's odd, and sometimes that's necessary, I understand that, but if it's all possible, just bob along. So I've not got much else to say other than that today. It's 95 tomorrow, well into my teens, but spread the love today. I say that unashamedly. Spread the love. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'll be volunteering again, more unpaid work, but this time it is voluntary. And I will catch up with you then. but in the meantime, genuinely, peace and love. See you later.